And we're back with this first 63 AC30. Almost time for the moment of truth. First power up. Since last night's video, the filter cap's been installed here, a new one. The old one had been really done poorly. And it's very secure here. And new wires to it, positive and negative. New wires to the cut pot. The original cut pot measured about 150K, and the circuit's supposed to be 250K, and that does make a difference. Sometimes pot taper or pot value makes less difference than others. In that location, it certainly does. The amp would have been fairly dark with the 150K in there. I have temped in this alpha, and the alpha is a fine quality pot for this circuit. You know, it's not a lot to a cut circuit as long as the value is good. But I will talk to the owner and see if he wants me to get a Honeywell or a Claristat or a CTS or whatever. But for right now, to test the amp, we've got this alpha in, and I left some slack on the blue and yellow in case I need to change the pot and clean it up. Got the 150 nanofarad output coupling caps installed now that I'm not doing a bunch of soldering in this area. This amp was originally a treble version, would have had 47 nanofarads like these here, and these would have been smaller at the input to the phase inverter, but the owner wants this put to the normal. Now these 150 nanofarads are crazy big, and I would not use them in a new build of an AC30, but since this is a 63, it gets them. I did all that nonsense at the lamp holder that the previous guy had done. I installed a 500 milliamp slow blow HT fuse here with the wires neatly bundled. This power switch is temped in. Power cable is temped in. This is the one that came with the amp. I've got some really pretty hospital grade ones to go into this one and the other 63, but that will be one of the last things I do so it doesn't get all dirtied up on the bench. So got some excess wiring here, and it's not secured to the chassis. The AC safety ground has been moved here. The old brass hardware replaced with stainless steel. That's just too crucial to trust to brass, which cannot really get that tight because it's just not that strong a metal. And no more use of the power transformer mounting bolts for ground lugs. So I was able to get those a lot tighter, which holds the whole chassis together. It's a two-piece chassis made into an L shape. It's crucial to get those real tight. The main part of the chassis where the output tubes are and the transformers is steel. This part is aluminum and it likes to bend, so you want to really secure it as much as possible. Let's see, anything else to talk about in this area? I think that's pretty much good. What I'm going to do in just a moment is power it on with a variac and find what AC mains voltage sets the heaters at 6.3 volts or thereabouts. Write that down. If it's 110, 114, whatever. I'm not going to say it must be 111.73 volts, close enough for rock and roll within a margin that the heater supply gives you. Anyway, once we get pretty close to 6.3 volts, we'll take a note of what the AC mains needs to be for this set of transformers. And that's what the owner will set his UPC or variac or a combination thereof to. Once that's done, then I can change out, if necessary, the bias resistor in the output section. I put in a 75 ohm to start with because I knew that that would be a safe, good starting place. So I have I'll move the camera to show that in just a moment. First thing I want to do, though, just while I have it here, is I've got it plugged into the variac, and the variac set to just under 100 volts. I've got 124 volts coming from the wall, and I've got the current limiter on. So this is probably going to be in the 90 volt range for the first time, and I just want to power it on with the current limiter, make sure we don't have any problems. Well, the light comes on. That's good. Don't have to change that bulb. And I'm just going to wait until all the tubes start to draw current. The tubes that are in there now are the ones from that I was just using yesterday in that O2 limited edition hand-wired version. So I know that they're good. And I've got an AU7 in the proper slot. I almost said V3 because I'm thinking about it left to right, but that's not the actual number on the schematic, I don't think. All right. So it has come up nicely, and there is no excessive current draw. So let me take off the current limiter. And let's just see where we're at when we start this AC process. We've got right now coming out of the wall. Oops, had it set to DC. Try that one more time. About 97 volts. Is that right? Yeah, 97.8. So with the 97.8 volts coming out of the wall, the heaters are at a second. There's some paint on these lugs. 5.4 volts. So I'm going to go up a little bit on the variac. All right, the mains are now at 111.8 volts. And the heaters are at 6.28. That's pretty much ideal. So 6.28 on the heaters at 110.5, 111 volts. So that's good. The UPC, the owner, I sent a link to the owner to get, has a preset that just gives you a regulated 110 volts. That will be great. So I'll just make sure that I'm feeding the amp 110 volts while setting the bias. Let me move the camera for that part. Okay, I've already measured that resistor, and it is 75.9 ohms. And let me just confirm that our heater voltage has stayed about the same in the moments that I have changed this, because the wall voltage here fluctuates a lot. Yeah, 6.26 now. All right, so I don't have a cathode bypass cap across that resistor yet. That affects the sound, but not the bias. So I'm going to start with just making sure I have the right bias resistor. And this is all timped in here before I worry about the capacitor. And that puts me at 11.8 volts. Put that into my calculator. And then plate to cathode with this Woden output transformer. 305. All right, 305 volts plate to cathode, assuming about 5% of that is the screen current, puts these tubes at 11.26 watts, which is just on the cold side for these. So let me turn this off and try a 62 or 68 ohm resistor. Okay, for fun, I put in this 50 ohm 10 watt. That's what's on the original circuit. And with the wall voltage down at 110 through the variac, this is actually the proper value to use. This puts us right at 13.5 watts idle dissipation. That said, this amp with this resistor has a hum in the output that was not there with this resistor. So I'm going to temp in the cathode bypass cap and see if that goes away. Okay, again, this is temped in just to get the value right, and I will replace both, I'll put these in pretty like I did the rest. I need to see if I have a 50 ohm Vishay Dale like that. It has much thicker leads, and it will stay where you put it. These Zycons, while they're fine for a lot of things, the leads are kind of flimsy for the mass that they have, and I don't want to send this out into the world like that. So But for right now, this works, and there's a good space between them. The amp is biased healthily, but there is a hum, which may or may not be related to the output. It may be some of the stuff in the vibrato channel, which I've not gotten to yet. It may be the tube socket for the phase inverter. Now the fun starts. Okay, first play test. Aside from that hum, which I suspect is highly likely to be one of these remaining original WEMA tropofoils leaking DC, I will track that down. Anyway, let's see how the amp is sounding other than that. So here's the Brilliant channel, which does not have the top boost applied at this point. It's just the old school Brilliant channel. That sounds pretty good. And that hum that I'm hearing is not affected by this channel. This channel just has a little bit of white noise at the top. Other than that, it's really quiet. That's great. So now let's go to the normal channel. I'll turn the cut down for that. The channel is not nearly as bright as the top, the Brilliant channel. So here's the normal channel. That's with the cut all the way down. That channel tends to be a little bit dark, which people love. And that hum's not related to this channel's volume either. Guitar is a little out of tune, sorry. Just picked it up, it's a Saturday morning. Let's try the Vibe Trim channel. More white noise than the others. This one has more original caps, but I'm not hearing any source of that hum. Real quick, we'll just check that tremolo. I'm not getting tremolo on that. I was correct, it's the fourth one. So, no tremolo yet. But the channel's sounding okay. So that's good. Just got that buzz driving me a little batty. And I will track that down. There's a lot of things it could be. 90-something% of the components on the board are still original. Could be a problem with the phase inverter stuff. It did change when I changed that bias resistor in the output, but that doesn't quite make sense. I will track that down. But first, I think I'm going to see what's going on with the tremolo not trimming. That bothers me. Well, I was hopeful that I just wasn't able to touch this lug to the chassis adequately with the screwdriver because of tarnish on this metal. So I soldered in this connection, which is what the foot switch does when it turns the tremolo on, and still no oscillation. So there's an awful lot of stuff in the circuit that can go wrong. It's very convoluted. Someone asked me in an email the other day if I could do a video explaining how this tremolo does work, and I think that's a really good idea. And since we have a problem and it is not working, now is the time. I'm going to unplug those tremolo tubes just in case that one of those may be the cause of the hum. I'll power the amp off for that so we don't get a pop. While I have it at this view, I have replaced these two cathode bypass caps. I replaced this one resistor here, which is a cathode resistor. These two resistors have been changed out poorly. I put in some carbon films because it's not about the tune, man. I didn't need to track down carbon comp there. I wanted reliable. Two changed caps in right here. They had a really cheap mica in here before. This one was missing. Another good cap here where there's a cheap mica. Two change out resistors and a 2.2 nanofarad. Some of the other resistors over here are still original, as are all the coupling caps in the circuit for that. So I will track that down, but just in case one of those tubes in that stage is the cause of our buzz, let me remove them. Power the amp back on, see if that buzz is gone. Probably not, but it's always worth a check. Actually, yeah, that buzz is gone. All right, so when I troubleshoot the tremolo for real though, this amp should be much happier. Lacking that buzz and hum, let's see what the normal channel and top boost channel sound like. Brilliant channel. I need to stop saying top boost until we add the card back. I can hear that buzz way in the background. It was much louder when those tubes were in place. So I really do think we've got some leaky DC somewhere in the vibrato trem circuit. I will track that down. The non-top boost brilliant channel in these things can be a lot with a Strat. That said, you know, you get the right echo and reverb happening. And you can get all your old shadow stuff. I need to learn Apache maybe to demo this. It's one of those things I've heard a million times and never just sat down and worked it out. But, you know, that's a funny thing. Everyone wanted to sound like Hank Marvin in the 60s in England, and they wanted to play Apache, so they rushed out and bought a Vox just like this. You know, the non-top boost brilliant channel Vox AC30, and that is just one of the smaller parts of the sound he was getting, aside from having a really sweet Fiesta Red Strat. Was it Fiesta or Dakota? Yeah, you UK guys tell me. I guess you Australian guys too. But he had this really strange Vox tube echo delay reverb device. I think there are like 10 in existence in the world today. And so he was all that stuff. That's a huge part of the sound, not just the delays and the reverb from it, but also the fact that it had a tube preamp between the guitar and the amplifier. I digress, but Something like that, only played much better. I just stopped there because I thought it was a good place to stop, but I guess I should say that the next thing I'm going to do before anything else on this amp is go through and find which of these caps is leaking, and then we'll start the painstaking work on the vibe trim. At the beginning of this, I said I wanted to get the normal and brilliant channel working before we even worried about all this, because as you can see, easily 60-70% of the entire amp, maybe more than that, is vibe trim channel. It's very complicated. There's a lot that can go wrong, and it has.